Okay.
All right, we'll start with the memories of World War II. And I was 13 when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, but we had newsreels and things ahead of that knew what Hitler was doing in Germany and Poland
and what the Japanese were doing in China.
Yeah. And so we knew that, but when it really hit home to us was when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. And then I would say that our lives changed to the fact that many of the young men that we knew went to war. We were still young, but they went to war, and Poppop's mother went and worked in a defense factory, and he was left home to be the cook, and my parents didn't do that, but we all had rationing, sugar, shoes, anything like that, gasoline, food, butter. And so it was an important thing in our lives, and we would go to the movies because that was our main form of entertainment, but there would be always newsreels about the war in the entertainment. But I will say for myself, I did not realize what was going on in the concentration camps when I was in high school. Did you?
I don't think any of us did. We were not even aware that there were such facilities and what they were doing at the time. And I became aware of that when the Germans were pushed out of France, because in eastern France they had a couple camps where they did medical research on prisoners that was very gruesome and terrible. But that was...
Well, we had a German boy that came and went to school with us, and we knew that they had left Germany. He was a German Jew because of Hitler. But
his father had gotten his mother and he out in potato sacks, loaded potatoes on the train. They were loaded in potato sacks, and they went to Holland, the Netherlands, and from the Netherlands they went to England, and then and there were many of them that did that. But the Mangelsons happened to relocate to Ames, Iowa, and that's how we knew them. And he came into our school not knowing a word of English, and graduated with honor, and so they put him, in one of the elementary grades, and he graduated with honors at the age of 15 from high school and went straight into college. Brilliant. And his mother was, I delivered their newspapers, and they lived in a little apartment, not too far from where my folks lived when I lived. That was one of our interesting. Another interesting thing was we used to play games in the schoolyard near Millie's parents' home. And you talk about how close the war was to us. One of the boys that we played ball with in the summertime was drafted into the Army in September and was killed before Christmas at the Battle of the Bulge.
So drafted even then.
So
I didn't even know that they drafted. I guess it only stopped after Vietnam. It was a permanent fixture.
The draft was eliminated before Vietnam.
Okay.
But it had been up until that time.
They still had draft boards during that period in existence, but the actual drafting of young people into the service had terminated after Korea.
And I think it would be hard for you of your generation to realize the euphoria that came with the end of the war, with the end of the war in Europe and then the end of the war in the Pacific. We just felt like from then on everything in humanity was going to be so much better than it had been before, and it was for a time. And the United States did great things with the Marshall Plan in restoring Europe, Germany, France, even and Japan. You know, they went into Japan and helped those people. A very good thing in our eyes for them to do and to help them do. But
one of the aspects of that era was in the United States, the college education that was made available on the GI Bill. If you served in the military, you got 1 day of college for each day you served in the military. And there were limitations to the college. In other words, you couldn't just go to any college you chose or happened to be accepted in, because the finances weren't available to send you to Harvard without supplement. But you could go to the state universities and colleges, and it was tough. But the young men came back, many of them, who had never have had an opportunity to go to college, and did go to college. For example, the average age of our freshman class was 26 and a half years old.
Wow.
So when we went as 18-year-olds, we were going with people who had seen war in all of its worst facets and been all over the world. And this was unusual for a